anyway. So you're actually getting help. So that's how Jupiter is helping you, because the opposition can actually work like a conjunction at times also, which a conjunction can work like an opposition at times. But it can actually help, because it could be a tug-of-war match, but it also could be a give-or-receive match. And a tug-of-war match is only an opposing of ideas, and a give-or-receive match is only an applying or a compromising of ideas. So what happens, or helping and adding to ideas. So what happens here is how Jupiter is helping, because it's placing you in experiences in your life. It's placing new circumstances, situations. It's placing experiences in your life that you're going to gain wisdom and knowledge from, right? And the wisdom and knowledge is going to come from information, communicating with others, and thinking about things in a rational way. And it's going to come from others initiating their own way of doing this thing. Now, this is how wisdom and knowledge is coming to you right now, but you off the bat going to feel opposed to it, because it's not relatable to Gaia's sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus right now. So it's placing you in a situation of opposition, but by the purpose of me doing this chart is teaching you how to go with this opposition, and therefore is allowing others to have their own way of initiating and creating new ways of how to see and feel about things. And it may be harder for others than others. Like, it may be harder for the squares and oppositions right now than the trines, because here you may not be able to see somebody else's way, and you may purely see your way as right, and you may be right and that person may be truly wrong, but the way you go about the actual debate, the way you go about the actual opposition that you have in between each other can go overboard or go a little further than it really needs to, when you could just actually allow someone to have what they have, and you can have what you have, and still completed the task of the energy that Gaia is going through, which is initiating and creating new ways of how to feel and how to see things. You know what I'm saying? But now is not the time to go into heavily opposing others with that. Not what you're loving, not what you appreciate and how you look at love and how you relate to people. No, not your way of thinking and your selfish way of communicating. No, not your own way of feeling and emotion. No, and not the way how you see yourself taking these actions. No, you still need to take forms of information from others, and take forms of take forms of information and communicate with others in a fair and diplomatic way, because Jupiter in Libra calls for it. And the better you know how to do that, you could turn this into a give and receive match than a tug-of-war match between Jupiter and the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus. Now, getting into Mars. Mars is in Taurus. Now, Mars don't like to be in Taurus. You know what I'm saying? Mars hates to be in Taurus. So Venus and Mars is doing the switcheroo. So what happens here is Mars is intentions, willpower, desires, passions, your intentions, your motivations. So right here is in Taurus. So right now, Gaia is wanting you to slow down, and it may be hard for others than for others. Like, it just wants you to slow down in your intentions, slow down in your passions, take time on it. Make sure you make it out like it's a procedure. It's like something like it's a procedure, because that's like the earth signs. The second house, which is the Taurus house, that'll be the procedure or the seed. The sixth house, that's the Virgo house, that'll be like the water in the seed, or working on the procedure, seeing how the procedure work. And then the 10th house, Capricorn house, that'll be like seeing the seed blossom into a flower. That's the status of the flower, or actually receiving the fruits out of your labor of doing the procedure. You see what I'm saying? And now you're known for accomplishing that procedure. So when we talk about Mars being in Taurus, this is what you need to do with your intentions, your willpower, your motivations. You need to put it in a structural way, and something that you can take time on. Even if you're a person who lack patience, you need to when it comes to your motivations, things are your passions, your intentions, things that you want to do, how you carry out the duties and obligations of your sun, which is your actions, and how you see your ego, which ultimately going to become your goals, will ultimately become your motivations, will ultimately becomes Mars. So in your desires. So right here, anything that falls into that realm of reality, Gaia is telling you to take your time on it and create a procedure that it can be slow, and and anything that you got going on in your life that's too like a fast pace, or too fast, or too rapid speed, you need to make sure, if it's something that don't need to be in your life, take that out of your life, or find a procedure to slow that down. You know what I'm saying? And make sure you see all the ramifications, and make sure you're handling all the qualifications of that circumstance right. You know what I'm saying? From a step-by-step procedure to the point that you can actually see it work, and you're taking the time and feel comfortable with presenting it. You know what I'm saying? So Mars wants you to slow down right now, And it may hurt because your intentions. You may get up and got this passion to do something today, but if you ain't taking the time to actually look at the circumstance of what may happen if you take this route, or what may happen if you don't take this route, if you don't take that step-by-step procedure, Taurus which is fixed earth, being fixated on his own way of thinking and being practical, which falls under common sense. So if you don't apply common sense to your passion, or apply a procedure of thinking to your actual motivation, and you could be doing things that's too spontaneous. And with all these planets being in Aries right now, will allow you to do that. You know what I'm saying? So with Mars ruling Aries, and by all the other planets being by the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus being in Aries, and by the sign that rule Aries being in a sign that don't like, it's giving you confirmations of slowing down. But it's going to put you in a lot of situations that's fast paced. And the better you know how to slow down, the better you're going to be ahead of the people that is going fast. So almost with this energy, with this Mars energy going on with the other planets, it's almost like a rabbit turtle race. And you're supposed to be the rabbit that learned what the turtle did. Because with all these planets being in Aries, you're going to be the rabbit. But with Mars being in Taurus, it's telling you to take your motivations and not have your not passionately run in circles and not get anywhere. Slow down and understand what the turtle did, so you can understand how to get from point A to point B to the finish line without wasting your breath and still win first place. That's all. You know, Mars hates being here because Mars don't like to do that. A lot of times Mars is the soldier, it likes to go all out and jump off the cliff. But right now I got to be a little bit more practical and make a little bit more sense on when it's actually doing, when it do jump off the cliff. So that's why I like to make this analogy that it's actually the rabbit who has to actually learn what the turtle is doing. Now, when we get into Saturn is still in Sagittarius. So this is going to add a lot of support to the actual planets that's in Aries, because Saturn is how one gains structure in one's life. So it's also where one is going to receive, but also place boundaries and restrictions and limits. So what happens here when it's in Sagittarius is mutable fire, being adaptable and changeable to others or its own ways of seeing and feel about things. So this will separate Sagittarius and Aries. See, just because you're a trine or a sextile, that is it. It's just you're more understandable, but you still receive friction because that's still like two planets trying to do the same thing in their own way. So right here, but where it's going to support is the way people are gaining structure, the way Gaia is forcing you to gain structure in your life right now is a little bit more faith-based. Is a little bit more spiritual. Is a little bit more get more enlightened about things and having a broad perspective of how the world sees gaining structure in their life, and how to see where to place boundaries and restrictions and limits, and how to see where to place boundaries and restrictions and limits. And right now, by it being in Sagittarius, Saturn is telling you to put boundaries and restrictions and limits on travel, put boundaries and restrictions and limits on outdoors, but place boundaries and restrictions and limits on but you're going to receive boundaries and restrictions and limits on wisdom, receive boundaries and restrictions and limits on spirituality, receive boundaries and restrictions and limits on knowledge and higher education. So then it's going to go into hand in hand, where when you act too spontaneous and jump too much in fire, it's going to put yourself in an experience that you didn't want to experience, because the experience that it put you in maybe was an unstable situation. So it's going to tipper tapper. But what happens here is it's going to give support to the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus, because the Sun goes for your actions. So a lot of times people are initiating, creating new ways of how to see and feel about the actions. So if they're already gaining structure in their life by seeing the broad perspective of how people see and feel about their actions, then right now it's a support system. People have enough common sense not to go too far off of the cliff right now. So that's where the support system may come. But you may have support in a lot of situations that may put you in situations that may feel like it's unstable, or this is unstructural, or this is something I should be placing boundaries and restrictions on, or I need to place limits on spending, or I need to place limits on travel, or I may need to place limits on this information I'm receiving with this crowd. You know what I'm saying? I need to maybe learn something else from here, and this may be something I can apply to my life to gain structure or something. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a lot of those type of energies that's going on, and that's what Gaia kind of suits for you to do. But for the most part with Saturn, it's wanting you to gain structure. It wants you to gain structure in your life by wisdom, knowledge, and experiences, but it's also, see, that's the tricky part about Saturn. It's also going to place you in situations where the same thing that you need to apply to gain structure in your life is going to be the same situations in your life that make you feel like these are the things you don't need. You see what I'm saying? So Saturn got like a weird way. It's like the father. It got a weird way of teaching you by taking away what you think is stable, so you can find a way to make yourself stable, to realize that you didn't need that in the first place, which you thought was stable. Therefore, you will always be stable in circumstances that's unstable. And that's all Saturn ultimately be trying to teach. Now, Uranus has been in Aries for a minute. So we've got 5 planets in Aries. So Uranus is originality, but it's also uniqueness, but it goes hand in hand with the other two, change and rebellion. Because when you become unique and original, it's automatically changing something that already been there or rebelling against something that already been there. So what happens here is, by this being in Aries, off the back, everybody already been initiating and create. Well, Gaia already been taking people through circumstances of rebellion, taking people through circumstances of opposition, but creating unique and original circumstances when it comes to seeing things in different ways, feeling differently about different ways. And that's going on. And since it's a generational planet, it's going on within a generation. So everything. The whole politics then initiated a new way of how to see and feel about politics and government, and how, and everybody as a generation, as far as Uranus being included, to the point that everyone sees and feel differently about unique and original circumstances that apply to change and rebellion. So we're seeing a change and rebellion when it comes to presidencies, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to business, when it comes to internet, when it comes to electronics. You know what I'm saying? And that's Uranus is bringing an effective change, and it's initiating and creating a new way of how to see and feel about these changes. So everyone may not necessarily feel about transgenders the way they felt about transgenders maybe 14 years ago. You know what I'm saying? People are not feeling the same way about politics the way people may have felt about politics maybe 8 years ago. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, we're in a different environment right now. Different technologies, which is Uranus, electricity. A lot of electricity information that we get come from Uranus and beings on Uranus, and you know, the information of the electricity that's coming through here is an energy of initiating, creating new ways of how to see and feel about things, and it's going to be predicated towards change, rebellion, but uniqueness and originality, which also formulates through electronics and, you know, and infrastructure and business and the way people dialect information on Earth. Now, when we go into Neptune still is in Pisces. Now, Neptune loves to be here. Neptune is dreams, creativity, imagination, and illusion. So, right now, this generation that we're going through as a whole right now has no problems with initiating, will have no problems with expressing their dreams, imaginations, creativity. Like, you got people who coming up with all kind of new creativity type stuff on the internet nowadays. But see, off the bat, you know, it's not really doing no kind of severe angles to any other planets except it's sextiling. It's sextiling Taurus. So with Neptune sextiling Taurus in Mars, so Neptune sextiling Mars because Taurus is in Mars and Pisces is in Neptune. So with this sextile right here is a lot of people are going to see opportunities right now to be able to have their desires be creative. Have their motivations be creative, imaginative, have their dreams placed with their motivations. So right now, people's dreams are placed in their motivations. So a lot of times, this could become selfish. This is a selfish opportunity. Learn how to apply others so it don't become a bad opportunity. Because anytime there's a sextile, it's an opportunity. It could be good or bad. Anytime there's a trine, it could be a gift, good or bad gift. You see what I'm saying? Anytime there's an opposition, it could be a give and receive tug of war. Now, when it comes to Neptune sextiling Mars right now. Now they're sextiling on an Earth and water basis because Neptune is in water, Mars is in Earth. So right here, this is the emotions and the feelings, and this is the thinking and the practicality becoming to have an opportunity to become one. So right here, people are able to take their emotions and their feelings and think rationally about them right now. So people are going to be able to have opportunities to do that and be able to have opportunities to be manipulated when it comes to that. But it's going to be structured under the energy when it comes towards your motivations and your desires. And your motivations and desires is going to be wrapped up in your creativity, your dreams, and your illusions right now. But you're just going to witness opportunities. So make sure you get on the right opportunities and not take the bad opportunities to the point that you're diving too much. The only opportunity you're seeing is for people to look at you like you're dumb because you have too many illusions or you dive too far in your dreams. No, you want people. No, you want to be motivated and have a desire to go with your creativity, and your imagination. You know what I'm saying? And be motivated towards that. But like I said, Mars, like by it being a water and earth axis, Mars wants you to slow down because Mars is in Taurus. So it wants you to make sense out of it. Where is this at? Taurus. What is Taurus? Fixed earth, thinking and practicality, which ultimately is common sense. It wants you to make sense out of it. Make sense out of your motivations and desires. So if it's going to be wrapped up in your dreams and illusions, make sense out of your dreams and illusions so they can become creative and imagination. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? That's what's going to happen here. You're going to witness opportunities for that to go on a bad route or the good route. And last but not least, Pluto is in Capricorn. So Pluto is actually squaring the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus, which is going to become squaring Venus because, you know, Venus is at an early stage. It's still in 2 degrees Aries. So it's cuspy. It's real cuspy. It's 1 degree away from getting out of the cusp. So right here, we know cusp is a 5-degree orb. So what happens here is with Venus being in a cusp, Venus is still showing the exaltation because Venus is exalted in Pisces, so it's still showing ramifications of your highest relatable time, your highest appreciation for something, your highest pleasure. But now it got the cusp of being impacted with, all right, now this could be taken away. It's not like that no more. What was good yesterday, not good today. So now it got the blend of it. So it's like it could be like it could be like an attachment right now. You don't want to let go what you appreciate it, but now you feel like you think you need to. It's that type of energy with the Venus right now. But Venus is slowly but surely it's going to be sliding out of that and just fully going into you initiating and creating a new way of how to see and feel about whatever you was appreciating or valuing, whether it's a person, place, or thing. And you know, with that also with Pluto is deep transformation, is everything of Mars on the deep end. So what happens here is when it comes to it being in Capricorn, Pluto is squaring the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and slightly Venus. I don't really like, but we're going to add it for the sake right now. So right now, people are deeply having to transform their own actions in a way. Deeply having to transform, or learn something, or transform their emotional stance or something. Deeply having to transform the way they think or analyze or communicate about certain things. Deeply transform about how they appreciate and feel or love or value or compromise or relate to others. So Pluto is wherever it's a square, because Pluto is squaring these planets, because Pluto is in Capricorn. It's forcing you to learn, so it's making you deeply. So off the bat, if you're carrying any old traits or holding on to anything that you know you're not supposed to hold on to, it's only a detriment. And I'm letting you know that right now. And if it's a certain person in your life that you actually need to get transformed, if you can't transform that person by something that you see or how you see something, or what you initiate and create new ways of how to see and feel about things, if you can't get on the same page as this person, it's time to transform that circumstance. And that's basically what it all boils down to. And if that person was worth really being in your life, then they will be back when the sun goes into Gemini. Believe that. Probably when the sun goes into slightly the end of Taurus, they're gonna realize what they was connected to and want to ground that again. If it was a bridge that was burnt, or when the sun goes into Gemini, they're gonna fully realize that they miscommunicating with you in the first place, or it's gonna be vice versa. You're gonna be the person who's doing that with someone else. You're gonna realize that you're miscommunicating with them. So keep that in mind. And it's Pluto sextile and Neptune. So as far as our generation and what we seeing going on right now, as far as what Gaia wants us to see, as far as what's going on amongst all of us right now, it wants us to see. It just wants us to when we're bringing things into this reality, we're bringing things into this reality in a deep way. Like because Capricorn is initiating, creating new ways of how to think and be practical, right? So it's initiating new ways of the common sense, but in this way is deeply in a Pluto way, like from your desires, deep transformation, your deep motivations, your deep desires, how we see all things and how people transform themselves. They come into a sensible agreement. For an example, that's almost like right now, if you are going bald, then instead of feeling like you don't want to go bald right now, with Pluto being in Capricorn, what makes sense is to just go ahead and go bald. You know what I'm saying? Because you see a lot of people saying that under LeBron James comments and stuff like that. So right now, this would be an energy to transform yourself into what makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And the more and more you don't do it, the more and more you're going to get negative feedback or negative backlash. So that's the whole point of what I'm trying to say. You have to make sense out of your transformative states, what's going on as far as the generation. And we're going to see a lot of opportunities to be able to do this in creative ways, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Donald Trump got a toupee. You know what I'm saying? But not even get on to that. This can go into any type of circumstance. I was just making that as an analogy. But people want to have creative ways of doing this, imaginary ways of doing this. Is going to be in people's dreams, and it's going to be in people's illusions right now of how to do things in a reality-based type way. You know what I'm saying? But that's as far as the energy and what Gaia wants us to go through right now. So for overall perspective, things going to be very, very spontaneous, but slow down within these spontaneous times. Slow down, because things could go too fast that your life might get took that fast too. So, you know, that's the astrological energies what's going on within just this week. Just maybe just the next three to 4 days. Feel me? Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. Goddamn air.